So let's begin with the introduction. Can you just give us an introduction on who you are and the ins and outs of your broadcast? You can also share your Twitch channel and your community, and what type of content do you stream on your channel?
Okay, well, my name is ZombaeKillz, and I make big, fat, black, chaotic content on Twitch, and I have a very negative YouTube career right now. But I have a really good time. My content kind of centers around being my most authentic self and building an intentionally kind community. So I work very hard on curating a very unique space of the internet where people can come to find out about games, come to talk about any other geek culture type stuff, but also find out and have discussions about real world issues, stuff like human rights issues, social justice work, prison reform, birthing in women's bodies. We can talk about healthy, sex positive things and body positivity. So it's a pretty big amalgam of things centered around the language of gaming.
Okay.
You have like a whole cornucopia of things. You cover everything.
We do. Much. We kind of cover it all, and it's all under the umbrella of like gaming is a universal language, and it's a great vehicle to talk about things that precipitate change in our lives. So you can change a lot of people's minds and hearts while you're in the heat of battle in a video game, I found out. So I've kind of just used that as my vehicle for change.
Okay. So when and why did you start streaming?
So I started streaming a little over a year ago, and I started over on Mixer. And I started streaming because I was really, really sick and had cancer and had to have my uterus removed. And I'd been recently diagnosed with lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder, and I was hyper isolated and unable to go anywhere due to being on like immunosuppressive drugs, etc. And I had a conversation while playing games one night that was like really in-depth conversation, talking about race and prison reform, because somebody was talking about their job and how much they hated like working with inmates because they were a CO officer. And I started talking to them about my time being incarcerated, and changed his whole frame of how he thought, and thought, hey, this is really cool. Maybe I should start doing this because gaming is like my only outlet right now. And the only way I'm able to talk to people in the outside world. And I did.
Okay. And as a gaming content creator, what are some of the issues and challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I mean, if you're in the game space at all, and you vibe out in our space, you know how little representation we actually get as people of color, marginalized people, or, you know, anybody, LGBTQIA, which I am, or disabled like I am. We don't have a lot of representation in the media that we consume. So being a person in the space, if you were to ask a lot of people right now, let's ask a lot of big media outlets who they think the top black streamers are, they're going to struggle to find us. Case in point, Keemstar the other day with his little comments about how he didn't know who, you know, the top black gamers are. We don't really have us to look for in the space in the same way that people can name off 25 cis white male streamers. And we struggle for visibility. We struggle for audience because we don't have the same reach or the same opportunities that are being given to us in spades because, you know, we're held to a higher standard of content creation that's often unattainable and financially prohibitive, right? And so content creation is just something that is a struggle for a lot of us. And I've definitely kicked ass at it. In the past year, I've done a lot. I think I've made a lot of strides forward, and I've been able to get a lot of awesome opportunities through a lot of hard work, and I've been able to help provide other people with opportunities in this space and open some doors, or kick in a couple, if you will. And I'm really loving it. But yeah, it's something I'm going to be overcoming for my entire career, because whereas I make a mistake publicly and will be blacklisted from something, my cis white male counterpart can make the same mistake publicly over and over again and not be chastised or have opportunities taken from them. So yeah, it's always going to be us overcoming or us having to be better than 3 times as hard, right? As people of color, we hear that our whole life. Yeah, we're taught that from kids, from when we're small. Hey, you're going to have to be 25 times better than Brittany to get less opportunities than Brittany, right? Like, and they're going to hold you to a higher standard than they'd ever think about holding Brittany to, because if a black woman makes a mistake, we're aggressive or we're unprofessional or we're this, that, and the third. Whereas if other people make mistakes, they're given so much grace. It's just liberally poured all over them. So yeah, I think I'll constantly be overcoming for the rest of my career.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I guess I'm going off the list of questions, but just kind of piggybacking off of that, it's got an idea. Like, what do you think about people? Well, not just not people, but black people, us. What do you think about us thinking that we don't like we are afforded the same opportunities, that the struggle is not there? What do you think about that?
I think that's wildly inaccurate and based in ego. When people do that, it's if you did get an opportunity and you think for a second that it didn't come without a lot of planning put behind the opportunity you got as a black person, that's wild to me. It's also coming from a place of whatever privilege you were afforded differently, and it all comes down to like a roll of the dice, right? Like, you might get this opportunity and there might not have been no struggle for you to get to it, but what had to happen to the person before you to get there? What had to happen in the series of events that led up to that blessing in your life? Like, I think people don't really think about the big picture when they say things like that. And they are rooted in self. So their struggle is only related to self, which is narcissistic as hell. But it's also quite damaging to us to assume in our egomaniacal existence that, just because I didn't have it that bad means this next person didn't have it that bad. Not all black people or not all disabled people. Those are harmful rhetorics that we kind of have to stomp out.
Yeah, because there are people that think that we don't have to fight, or like the fight is not as bad, or it's weird to me for people to think that we're on the same playing field, pretty much. Like, we're on the same playing field as cis white males or white people in general. Like, there are quite a few of us that believe that.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of people that think the world is fucking flat, but those people are psychos. So, I mean, honestly, like I said, it's rooted in selfishness, and it's rooted in what we like to call the Highlander theory. There can only be one Negro. Like, there can only be one of us in a space, so I'm going to do this. And a lot of that's rooted, if we're just being really frank, in white supremacist thinking that they've been programmed. You guys remember Mos Def? Any of you guys? Am I old?
No.
Okay, so Mos Def, Talib Kweli, where he's like, even my conditioning's been conditioned, and the sample from the song where he's talking about, I can't help it, brother. Even my conditioning's been conditioned. And I think that all the time when I get but I'm black and I feel like this, because lately during the blowback that I've been suffering in the games industry, I've got a lot of, as a black man, I hope you die, bitch, in my emails lately. And I'm like, cool. Like, I just roll my eyes, because in that instance, they're becoming agents of white supremacy, and they're literally dying on a hill to help the white supremacist machine move forward. And it's wild to me.
It's wild to hear that a black male can, not support his black woman. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad for me from not a lot of relevant black people. I'll be very frank. None of the people in my fucking inbox saying that crazy shit and making death threats to me are in any way, shape, or form relevant. But it goes to show you how incredibly poisoned our own well is. For people trying to get an opportunity, and they want so badly to be seen that they will, fight for scraps in front of the master however they feel fit.
So, with that being said, like, how can we reduce the toxic behavior and harassment in gaming? How can we do that?
We have to take no prisoners approach, and we have to stand as a united front as much as we possibly can. which is very hard for any marginalized group to do because of the conditioning of white supremacy. It's very easy for us. This is such a deeper conversation, but it's very easy for us to fight against each other like crabs in a bucket, right? Because we feel like there can only be one of us in a space because we've been so conditioned to fight all these things. We've been so conditioned to have infighting, whether it was from people being house inwards to people working in the fields. They've conditioned us to constantly fight, to use colorism in our fights with each other. It's a way to keep us from obtaining any sort of equity and power in anything in our society. So for us to first begin the backlash, we need to unify as a people. We don't get to choose who we side with. We actually just need to support the people that need supported and don't say, but I don't like the way she talks, or I don't like the way he looks. It starts by us supporting the people that need to be supported and calling out wrong behaviors when it's wrong, period. And that's very hard to say and very hard to do, especially when people do things that are very distasteful to us. But if they're being harassed over something that you can tell is blatantly wrong, you got to slide in behind them. You have to. We got to unify it, because if we're unified, they can't stop us, period. And then from there, we need to move forward, and we need to start utilizing our media outlets as well. We need to start using our power, showing our buying power to people, showing how much our money and our influences everything. Black people are tastemakers. We are the culture behind everything that rides in this country. If we were to utilize that, we could stop everything. We are the cogs in the machine that's upholding white supremacy, which is kind of hard to say, but it's true. We're so short-sighted, we haven't really worked together in ways in a long time that need to be done. And right now what we're facing is a resurgence of the civil rights era all over again. And we need to stomp that out. We need to start addressing these platforms that give big platforms to hate. I have a meeting with YouTube Gaming on Monday. I'm excited to talk to them about the things I think that they can do to protect marginalized people on their platform. But they have to think people over profit. And we have to show these businesses choosing people over profit is actually choosing profit. Yeah. We have to reward the places that do good by us. So if a platform is actively trying to protect Black people, that's where we need to place our money. Period.
Exactly.
When we have companies that are defending and supporting us, that's where we place our money. When Nike came out in support of Colin Kaepernick, we dumped our money back in there. We need to continue to show in real ways, show up and show out for the people that have our vested interests as people of color. Period. When we show them that in numbers, when we make these movements, like the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, because it was never not a movement. It didn't just get created in June. When we show them, though, our power like that, things change. I was part of a conversation in June that changed the gaming industry. I was part of Spawn on Me's A Lesson in Blackness. We changed a lot in the game industry, and I have continued to champion for change since then, and I will continue as long as I have a voice to fight for change in this space. But I can't do it by myself, and I can't do it while I have people behind me saying, well, y'all are only supporting her because she's racially ambiguous, or maybe you're only supporting her because you think she's pretty. How about you support me because I'm about the fucking cause, period. Period. I've heard the whispers of... I
just got chills a little bit when you said that.
It makes me so angry to hear people say things like that, because it is so dismissive and so reductive of what we're dealing with. And it is those tiny little digs that we get from other people of color that actually dismantle our movement before it's able to gain traction. It's frustrating, to say the least. But doesn't mean I'm going to stop. But it is very hard, and it's very harmful mentally to people like me who are out there in the front doing this work all the time. Because, I get dismissed a lot. Like somebody said, they made a subtweet at me because, people don't fucking at me because then I'll tell the truth on them very loudly. And, people hate that shit. but they said we can't have biracial people leading the movement for people of color.
Wow.
And I'm black. I mean, I'm biracial, yes. I don't identify as biracial. I don't like saying I'm two races or like two halves of something. It's kind of ridiculous. Because I'm not a partial person. I'm a full person. And when the police pull me over, best fucking believe here in Mississippi, I'm black as fuck. Best believe when I show up to pick up my kid from school, etc., or when my kids go to somebody else's house, I deal with the exact same things every other black person in America does, if not worse, because I'm in Mississippi, which is a hellhole. So for me to be on the lines doing this work, and I did this far before I came into gaming. I've been doing prison reform work since 2012. I've been doing work for women's bodies, trying to fight for black women to have better maternal health care. I'm on the board of directors for justice and maternal support here in Mississippi. So this is something I was an activist before I was in the game space. So I came in here as an activist. So me coming into the game space with my activism and seeing the harmful discourse that we're constantly having every time something happens is very frustrating. Because I'm like, do y'all know what y'all are doing? Like, I want us to have equity. I don't just want us to get game codes or get a little happy and be brushed off to the side. I want us to have real equity in our space, and I want us to be protected, and I want us to be treated with dignity and respect and have value. And I think a lot of people miss that when they think about things like, oh, she got an Xbox, or oh, she did this. They don't understand what we're really going for. I don't give a fuck about the Xbox. The Xbox is lovely. I've had a great time playing it, but that's not what the end all goal is here. The Xbox is part of the journey, because once I got an Xbox, I was able to go into my emails and connect Xbox to another black creator who I thought had a different reach and a more, had more opportunities to pass on to somebody else. So these things are doors. They're not the destination. And I think a lot of people are so short-sighted when it comes to these things. And they're so focused on themselves, is what I've noticed. Some of the biggest black people in gaming right now are so incredibly focused on self, because they've been in this mode of survival. And they've been worn down by trying to help. I feel that way right now. I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, as of last week, I wanted to flip a fucking table and tell these people to fight for their own shit. Let me go get my opportunities, because I'm out here fighting for everybody, and y'all are sitting here talking about how I'm too light-skinned to be doing what I'm doing. And it's very frustrating.
Which is crazy. Like, for us to I think for us to air our dirty laundry too. I call it dirty, like the whole colorism issue. To air out our dirty laundry in front of the whole industry, and talk about your skin color. Yes. Like, that's something we've all dealt with for years, centuries.
And it always comes at a time.
And it's what does that have to do, with you?
It comes at a time when I'm fighting, when I'm being attacked by so many thousands of people on the internet, literally thousands, okay? People telling me they're going to cut my head off and rape my body. People sending me explicit images of my face being put on people being hung in my DMs. And then you're going to say, but y'all don't want to talk about how you don't support the dark-skinned women in the industry, right? And I'm like, they're trying to support me right now because I'm on the verge of a mental breakdown. And I'm on the end of a mass hate campaign, and I've got 3 children. I'm dealing with an autoimmune disease, and I can't sleep because people are doxing my address. So yeah, support me, please. But instead, we're going to have a discourse around colorism. Not that colorism isn't something important to acknowledge. Not that all these things aren't important, but we're going to have this conversation now.
Yeah, like, what does it have to do with the support and with the support of you?
You know what it has to do? Jealousy. It's jealousy, and and we've been so caught up in playing their games. We play their games at the worst of times for us. we show it, and then we do it on social media, and then we do it on where it's harmful, and we don't realize that social media it's a job. These are our jobs. I know we're out here tweeting because we're gamers and shit like that, and yeah, we don't have the button up to the neck job, but it's still a job. And when we encourage these discourses, what we do is show people that we attack each other at our lowest of moments, and we can't be trusted, but we're vying for white attention very hard, so bad that we're willing to throw each other under the bus, which I would never. No matter what issues I have with, I've had a fight with one black woman on the internet in my entire time on the internet, just to put that out there. And even then, it took a lot. I mean, it took a lot. I have a many of people of many different backgrounds I don't like, but I will never air my dirty laundry with other black women on the internet. If I don't like you, I'm going to keep it moving, because the harmful discourse around two black women fighting on the internet is much, much worse to me than whatever problem I had. Because I don't want to be putting other black women down. I've had one fight, and that's because it came to me, and I had to handle it. But I would never take the dirty laundry that I feel like we have in our community to be able to be used as cannon fodder for white people.
It seemed like it would be common sense for us, but
it's not.
It's not.
Common sense is not that common.
Definitely not.
It's just not, and it's especially not in the game space, because people are so comfortable oversharing, because that's kind of part of our job, that they've kind of lost it. They lost sight of the, I don't know, and you can only say so much in a tweet, so there's so much nuance that gets lost in tweets. You know, you only have so many characters to just say things like how much we love each other and how much we want to support and uplift each other. And people are always going to grab the sound bite that they think sounds the worst, right? And they're going to run with it. And that's what happened to me, you know. And that's what will continue to happen to me as long as I'm in this space. Because I say a lot of crazy shit. If you grab it in soundbite form, probably whatever happens from this podcast, people will take the worst part that they think sounds the worst of my person, and they will blow it out of control and make me seem like an asshole who doesn't like other black people. That, I mean, that's how crazy the internet is. Like, that's how anti-black our culture is. That's how anti-everything. Like, anytime we get anything, they will take it and use it and distort it the worst way that they can.
Yeah, and I think that's the worst part of what's been going on the last couple weeks or so, is because we've removed people from our organization just for the simple fact that we've seen things that are being taken in parts but not being taken as the whole, and there's no understanding of what's being said. So they're using this false narrative to kind of trash people, and at that point, how do you expect to have any kind of unity when you're taking bits and pieces, you know?
We can't. It's the thing that they latched onto the most in that interview that was me saying I was arguably the most visible black woman in gaming. I didn't say I was the best black woman in gaming. I didn't say I had the most following. I didn't say any of that. I said I was the most visible, which I was. I was on Good Morning America. I was in Time Magazine. Like, I've been on every single games podcast, Kind of Funny, IGN, everything within the past 6 months. So yeah, I was arguably the most visible black woman in the space at that point, period. And they took that and they ran with it as me saying I'm the best, or I had the biggest following, and the narrative spiraled from there. And the lies and the way that they justified everything, I mean, if you think about it, it's really clever, but it kind of reminds me, I can't think of the name of that tabloid from when we were kids.
You know, like Star or Globe or something like that.
Yeah, Globe.
Esquire, yeah, stuff like that.
And I felt like I'm in this giant game of telephone, and I'm like, did y'all watch the interview? Did anybody watch my interview at all, or did y'all just...
Probably not.
No.
I can guarantee you they didn't.
And it was wild to me, and it's... I don't know. It hurts. Like, I'm a human. And if anything, like, I'm deeply flawed. I think the same way that every other person's deeply flawed. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm new in the space. I don't know a lot about being, I don't know, well put together in the things that I say. I say things from my heart and I shoot from the hip all of the time. I speak in hyperbole. I am just my fucking self every day of the week. I don't pretty myself up. I don't church myself up for nobody. I'm not going to do it. Because I believe that is part of my brand. I've built being myself into my brand, and I don't have a problem admitting when I'm wrong. The problem with what happened these past couple weeks is I wasn't wrong. What I said was accurate. I made observations as a black woman in the game space and got railed because of it. I got railed for opening my mouth in the game space in a very valid way. I got, I did everything the right way, the same way that anybody else does it. I emailed people PR decks, like my pitch deck, and asked for a copy of something the same way that any other person does, in PR. And that's how I got my copy of my PlayStation. I emailed them, sent them a pitch deck, pitched them why I'd like to review their stuff. They got back to me and said, hey, let us check out your channel. Thanks for applying. We'll get back to you. They waited a week or so, came back and were like, hey, we love your channel. We think you're really funny. We'll get you a review copy of the PlayStation. And everybody was like, oh, she got a PlayStation because she guilted them on a tweet. That's not how that works. Go tweet at PlayStation, see if they send you a free fucking PlayStation. They ain't.
Oh, trust me, I've tweeted to plenty of people who never got anything for doing it.
I think what people don't understand is the work that is put behind it. A tweet is just that, a tweet. Yeah. That does not show the work that you put into anything. They don't know what you did behind that tweet at all. And I'm glad that you said that, because everybody's really basing this on that simple tweet. They're calling it begging, all of that. When I saw the tweet, I didn't think it was begging. I just thought I thought it was something that was true.
Yeah, I thought so too. But
I thought it was true, and it was well put together. It didn't seem like you were begging. I was like, hey,
I'm a writer. I'm a tech writer. I'm a tech writer, and I volunteered a solution to your problem. But not only did I volunteer a solution to your problem, I also said I would just like to see it in any black woman's hands. Mm-hmm. And I think people forgot that part the most. Was like, I don't care if you give it to me. Just give it to somebody black so I can go watch them, because I don't get that luxury. And I'm tired of seeing, white men over-explain or mansplain stuff to me, to be fair. It's just... I'm tired of it. And I think every black woman in America is tired of watching white men explain things to her. So, yeah, please get it in the hands of people that look like me. And then I went and did the work. Do you know how long I had to try to search high and low on the internet to find actual viable Sony PlayStation PR people's emails? It took me like 3 straight days of looking through contacts and trying to see who might have a lead here and there and the third to get that stuff. Finally found it buried beneath a bunch of stuff, found out who the PR people were, went to their LinkedIn, got their emails, had a pitch deck made, which I paid $400 for, and then gathered up my stats, did the work doing that, spending hours sorting through my stuff to make sure I had, good stuff to send them, because I wanted to be airtight, and I shot it off and said, okay, I shot my shot. And that's what everybody does in this industry.
Yeah.
And I got it because I worked hard. And I work very hard in this space. My stats are fucking crazy. My Twitter reach right now is 11 million. Who wouldn't want to work with a black woman with a reach of 11 million in the game space? You tell me. My stats are crazy. I went from having 200 followers to almost 10,000 followers in less than 6 months. I am growing at a very fast pace. I am highly visible, and I am doing the work in the space. I absolutely deserved to push myself forward for the opportunity and have a shot at it, which was all I had. I didn't know if I was going to get it or not. And to think that I had no reach, as these people said, right? I had no reach, no power, but I was able to somehow manipulate $1 billion industry. Into giving me something for free is bullshit. So I either have power and I'm able to bend $1 billion corporations to my will, or I've got none. You got to pick a fucking struggle. You got to pick a struggle. Either my reach is non-existent and I'm not visible in the game space, or baby, I got clout. Same way they said I was sending people to mass flag and harass them, to false flag them. Either you made a hateful video encouraging your followers to come after me and mocked me, used my logo and my face for entertainment, and I had no reach and no followers, so how could I have all these people mass harassing you? Pick a fucking story and stick to it. And then they wanted to come with the, oh, but she bought an Xbox. I absolutely bought an Xbox. I bought an Xbox Series S. Xbox sent me the Series X. And, you know, thanks Xbox. Now my kids have their own Xbox. You know, so I don't know what these people want. No matter what I did, this is the real tea, I guess. Get your cups ready. No matter what I did as a black woman, it would have been not good enough anyways. They don't want us in the space. There's nothing I can do. There's no purity test I can take to be good enough to get anything. I am a black woman who provided them with facts, called them on their bullshit, offered solutions, and offered myself up for an opportunity. And that is going to always piss people off. If black women don't humble themselves out of existence, we're not welcome. We have to just act like we're not worth shit in every space we occupy and make ourselves small and choke on being humble so that we can get every opportunity and beg and bow and thank until we die. And I'm not going to do that. Ever. I'm grateful for everything I get. I grew up broke as fuck. 7 years ago, I was in prison. Like, I am one of the most grateful people you'll ever meet in your life. So I'll continue to be grateful. I'll continue to be kind. I'll continue to fight for the things that I think are right. I'll continue to do the right thing, but I will not make myself small. I will not humble myself down when I am achieving things that others haven't had the ability to achieve before me. And I will not fucking clap for myself in a world full of people that will boo at me. And that's the problem that these people have with me, and that they'll have with any black woman in the space, unless that black woman is the acceptable kind of what they want to see from us. And fuck that.
And I think one of the greatest things I've gotten from this is I kind of turned it into my own mantra of impact over numbers. So for those that might be listening that don't know what that means, can you explain exactly what impact over numbers means?
Impact over numbers means the cultural impact that we have, the ripples that our representation, how far they go versus looking at just our numbers. And I believe in that very much. I believe that macro influencers or micro influencers have a smaller dedicated community that's got more buying power than people that have massive communities that kind of tune them out at a certain point. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And so I think that overlooking macro, micro influencers, in particular of color, or in marginalized communities, because I believe in LGBTQIA and disabled communities as well. It's one of the things, I don't know if you guys saw the Insider Gaming video, but I do champion a lot for marginalized people in general. I don't just say black people all the time, even though I always will look out for black women, and I can speak from my experience as a LGBTQIA black woman, and as a disabled person because I have lupus. I can speak from these experiences, but I want to see all of us up front. But I'm always going to push black women to the forefront. It's just going to always be my main focus. It's going to be because I see less of us. But in the past year, my eyes have been open to the disability community, you know, being friends with Steve Saylor and Steven Spohn, like people who have just like opened my eyes to, you know, seeing blind content creators get the Xbox and everything else. And I think we have a lot of work to do, like a lot in all these spaces. And I can't champion for one of us without championing kind of for all of us at this point is how I feel, because I see the disability community standing in solidarity with us a lot. Well, they do, at least, for me, a lot. They come out and they risk their already smaller followings like us to stand in solidarity with me. And I see that very much. And I see them standing in solidarity with BLM. And I see them taking risks, even though they don't even get half the opportunities we get. So it's definitely been a journey for me. I think that we matter. I think that our communities matter, and they're bigger than you think. So impact over numbers is fantastic, but I also had the fucking numbers, like, in our community. Like, I'm also a Twitch partner. I'm also partnered with Logitech. Like I'm also on Good Morning America. Like, the fuck, guys? Like, what do I gotta do? Like, my parents are so damn happy. I'm in Time Magazine on Good Morning America, and these guys are like, "Who are we? Who is this girl? I've never heard of her." I'm like, "Your mom literally watched me yesterday while she had her coffee. Chill the fuck out, Chad." So, and I'm not gonna feel bad. Like, who is she? Yeah, you know what? It would be worse if there was somebody else other than me that got it, that maybe didn't have as much visibility as me, because with as much visibility as I had, they still said I was invisible.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. So what about the other black women getting it? Like, what about them?
I mentioned that to a person that was doing the whole Zombie thing. Like, what if it was me? What if it was me? I don't have the following at all. Nowhere near close to at all that you have. Like, what if it was me? Would you be bashing me?
Yep.
Would you be doing this to me?
They'd be squishing you into the ground. Do you know why? Because they do it to you all the time. It's just you don't have the visibility as me, so you got stamped out faster, and that's the truth. It always happens to us. I'm just louder about it. And do you know how many black people I had in my DMs telling me to leave this alone, let it blow over, and get hit quietly so I could continue to be successful? Do you know how many, and these are big people in the games industry that have told me this, people I thought were friends, telling me to just take it on the chin and just go hide my head until it blows over. And I thought if
making it sound like they're like, friendly to be saying that to you, I'm saying this to you as a friend, just chill out and let it blow over.
That's what they all said to me.
Yeah.
And that's easy to say. And I could have done it. But then what? There's no accountability for these people doing this to black people. Nowhere. So I spoke up. And people stood beside me. I'm sure you guys saw IGN retweeting my tweets saying that, that I didn't deserve this, etc. People stood beside me. Big industry people stood beside me and said, enough is enough. And if I would have got hit quietly, we wouldn't have known where those people stand. They wouldn't have had to pick a side. They could go on never picking a side and never having to choose and never seeing the ugliness that we go through. In order for us to get more equity in this space, people have to see us as viable options, but they also have to be able to have empathy towards us. Empathy, so they can understand what our struggles are, they can see things through our eyes, and they can adjust accordingly to help better uplift and support us. When they see me struggling publicly the way that they do, I am garnering empathy for our cause. Period.
Yeah. And it's glad I'm happy that you actually mentioned that there's $1 million companies that's standing up for this, because they're admitting that there is an issue. I mean, you have Ubisoft with the Black Gamer Mixer. You have Facebook Gaming that just announced this week that they were having a partnership for black creators. So it seems that this is getting to some companies, at least. They're actually seeing the same problem that you were seeing, that we all were seeing. So I don't see why there's a pushback between the gaming community about this issue, because obviously there is an issue.
Yeah, why does it have to be a fight of representation? Like, why is that a problem?
Let me tell you something. I got a very encouraging message the other day from some people at EA that had said that they had heard about what was going on with me, and that it had been talked about all the way up through their corporate trains, and that people stood with me. So I am making a difference, even if I got to do it with a whole bunch of watching other Black people in my community shit on me on the internet, and watching white men use me for entertainment, and my weight for their entertainment, and my skin color for their entertainment, and all of me for their entertainment. It's worth it at the end of the day, because some of these companies are listening, and they're seeing change, and they're trying to implement it. Now, some pulled away from me. I lost some money. I lost some money this past couple weeks. I've had a couple of people who I won't name who've pulled out from working with me, and that's fine, I guess. You know, I'm the, I guess, quote-unquote victim. I don't want to call myself a victim, but that's what these people are doing to me, of harassment, and they chose to walk away from me because they see it as drama. Versus, you know, a hate campaign being lobbied against a Black woman on the internet, but that's drama. So, you know, there's some downsides to it, you know. I don't know how Xbox particularly feels about it, because they haven't, like, come out and said anything, neither has PlayStation, which I would kind of hope that they would have at some point.
Yeah.
I'd kind of hoped to see Xbox say, shut up, we give it to who we want to give it to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd kind of hoped to see Sony and PlayStation, you know, I'd kind of hoped to see it, but also I don't know how much, we do matter to them. Like, I don't know. I don't know, you know, I know Sony had a Black Lives Matter campaign, but, like, they know 2 of their recipients of their PlayStations being prosecuted. There's no way they can't know it on the internet.
Right.
And they're not caring about our lives very much. So I don't know. I know that Nay Saga has had Sony PlayStation UK work closely with her, you know? They're much smaller, but, like, I've had dead silence on this end. And I know Xbox has worked with her over in the UK too. Like I said, much smaller over there. Dead silence on this end for me. So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay.
Let's hope that you know, I just hope that people kind of smarten up to what's being fighting for, and not just some petty, I think she said this, or my favorite YouTuber says she says this, so I'm gonna believe it, instead of just actually listening to what it is being said. And that the drama kind of stops, because the hate is ridiculous at this point.
It's very loud. It's ruined my, like, it's definitely, like, ruined my life a little bit for the past couple weeks.
over demanding representation at that.
I didn't even demand. I asked for it.
Yeah.
I literally asked for it. Like, I was just like, hey, I haven't seen this. Could you guys do this and listen to us? We need to see this. This is a need. You know?
And as I said, that you get hate for that.
Yeah, something that seems so harmless. And you just get the full-on hate and backlash for putting something out there that was obviously painstakingly true.
People don't want to see anyone other than themselves shine. It is a horrible, humbling experience that I've had to realize. I am genuinely excited and happy for my friends, like, when they're out here thriving, you know, and, like, living their best lives. And I've noticed in games, it's like I said, that Highlander thing where it's like, yeah, but I don't like her. I think she's cocky. And I'm like, what about what I'm saying is cocky? Like, I didn't say I'm the best at anything. I didn't say nothing like it. So, you know, like, what about me is you just don't like me personally, so you can't get behind a movement that benefits us all. Okay, cool. Even though you don't even know me personally, to not like me. It's just wild to me.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, as we watch I mean, your resume is already extensive as it is, but as we watch it just grow and grow and grow, for the people that's listening and watching, what can they expect from you next? What are some plans that you have for the future, or any special projects coming up?
I'll be streaming a lot of really fun, cool content on my new PlayStation 5 and my Xbox Series X. I'm hoping to partner with a management group coming up soon so I can start working in different ways. I just launched my stream team called Radically Kind Gamers on Twitch, and I'm focused on cultivating a group of streamers who are up and coming, working on content creation, and focused on building intentionally radically kind communities. My direct pushback to hate on the internet, I believe, is working on building more spaces that are radical, kind, and inclusive. And I don't just mean inclusive, I mean radically kind. I mean changing our communities around us and contributing to the communities around us. So that's definitely something you guys can look forward to seeing, what we do with that team. I'm really big on fundraising. I raised, $13,000 last week total. And I try to actively raise a lot of money on my channel for local food banks, local prisons, children of inmates, etc. I try to do a lot in my personal community, and I'm encouraging this stream team to do it in their communities. So hopefully we can enact some real tangible change in the spaces that we live in. And that's pretty much my goals going forward, is just to continue to foster good spaces for good people to exist in and help people wherever I can.
Okay. And before we go, any shout outs? You can shout out whoever,
I'd love to shout out my manager, Leah Pizzatarian, on Twitch. I'd like to shout out Khalif Adams from Spawn on Me. He's a wonderful human. He's been hyper supportive of me. And I'm just very thankful and blessed for his friendship. Oh, and shout out to the Gathalion, the only white man I care about in gaming. He's really cool, and he kind of, he came to my aid and was really kind during this whole shenanigans. And he didn't have to, because he's like a super big streamer who I've looked up to forever. And he just jumped in and used his platform to say, this is fucked up, and I hate that this is happening to you. If you need any help, I'll help you. And that was really kind.
Okay.
Yeah. Zombie, also, I heard you said you have lupus. Are there any organizations that you want to bring light to that you're involved in at all before we close out? Did you want to, drop your socials and drop any other organizations that you deal with as far as the disabled or the LGBTQIQ, right?
Yes, LGBTQIA, yes.
Okay, yeah. I always think I'm saying too many letters.
It's okay. There's a lot of letters. It's all right.
I don't want to say too many.
Lupus in Color is a great organization that you can work with based out of Henrico, Virginia. You can find them on Twitter at Lupus in Color. If you can, donate money to them. They help people understand living with lupus, and they also help donate money for treatments, etc., all kinds of great things. They are a wonderful organization. Also, there's the Mississippi Bail Fund, which has been working year-round before you guys discovered the Black Lives Matter movement, to help people dealing with cash bail issues here in Mississippi, which has a highly corrupt rate and a 97% conviction rate. And I think it's very important. And the Big House Books, on Twitter, at Big House Books on Twitter. They help donate reading materials to inmates in Mississippi. And these are organizations I love and work with. You can find me at ZombaeKillz, ZombaeKillz, on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Consistent branding, people. This is how you succeed. You can find me anywhere, and I'd love to have you. I stream Thursday through Sunday nights, 7:30 p.m. Central. We're having a good time, maybe talking about overthrowing the government. Who knows? You could be a part of it. Come in. I'll play games badly. We can be best friends.
All right. And thank you so much for joining us. I do appreciate it. It's definitely an interview we've been talking about for the last couple weeks now.
Yeah, I'm glad to get to do it. I think there should be healthier discourses around these things. And if there is going to be discourse, it should be from our own people.
Oh, for sure. for sure.
All right.
But you guys are the first people I got to talk to about it, so it's kind of cool.
Good. I mean, we really appreciate your insight, and we're honored to be able to like give you. Well, I can't say give you, but to have be the platform and that provide the space for you to like say what you want, say what needs to be said. Because I took a lot from this myself, just listening to you talk. Just in this less than an hour or so. It just opened my eyes to a whole lot of other things. And because, a lot of people, just want to think about the one small thing and then there's so much more that goes into it.
So much, man. If everything was as easy as a tweet, I'd be Bill Gates in this piece.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, once again, thank you. And for everybody that's listening, thank you for listening to the Real Ones Gaming Podcast. We'll catch you guys later.